right, well, many people have speculated that floor traders are indeed headed towards extinction. Of course, a lot of people asking that as we talk about the New York Stock Exchange and its potential deal with Deutsche Börse. Well, my next guest says the flash crash may highlight the need for humans to actually provide backup to high-speed trading. That was exactly Doreen Mogavera's point. Well, Richard Sylla is an economics professor and financial historian at NYU's Stern School of Business. Professor Sylla joins us now here in the studio. Such a pleasure to have you here on this Friday. Exactly 1 year since then, and looks like we don't really have an answer as to what exactly went wrong, and more importantly, we don't necessarily have any specific solution to prevent another flash crash.
That's right. I mean, I think it's a year now. There has been an investigation of what caused the flash crash. There are a few, one or two suspicious trades that were supposed to have started things, but nobody's quite exactly clear what happened. And I think that's, that's the real problem. We can probably expect more of these until we figure out why they happened.
Professor Sylla, I want to start off. This is something that you had said during an interview recently. You wrote, someone who wanders, or you said this, someone who wanders around the floor to make a trade is a bit like a dinosaur. Given modern technology, it's so much easier to trade quickly and inexpensively on an electronic platform. At the same time, you still think there's a need to have humans on an exchange.
Well, I would say the flash crash showed us that we might still need to have humans, because what we had was a bunch of computers talking to each other. They were programmed in advance, but when things started to go wrong, nobody could shut it down and say, let's stop this nonsense. And for almost a century, when the New York Stock Exchange opened, they would call the list twice a day, and the brokers would be there, and if somebody wanted to buy or sell, they could execute a trade. Then we went to continuous trading with specialist systems, but there were people involved. The specialist was the human being on the scene, and he could probably stop anything like a flash crash. But that's an expensive trading system compared to modern technology and electronics, computers. And so we're moving toward computers, but I think the flash crash showed us that we may have lost something when we did that.
Do you think with technology moving so rapidly, however, when we saw the volatility of that day, and maybe we're not seeing volatility for U.S. stocks on the floors of our exchanges hasn't been so bad so far this year. However, we've seen this in the commodities market, where a lot of these computer-driven models are creating tremendous amounts of volatility. Do you think perhaps technology has gotten ahead of ourselves a little bit, that we should be paring back a little bit or not be so quick to adopt new technology?
Well, I think, we should experiment with it, but we should have fail-safe mechanisms built in, and I think that's what's going to happen now. I mean, this was a great embarrassment to Wall Street, a great embarrassment to the country. It's not really in the interests of the securities community for something like this to happen, because, a lot of people lost faith, and they're gradually coming back now. But I think the people who are running the markets really need to do a job in checking out what they're putting into their computers and saying, we don't want this to happen again. The government can be involved, kind of oversight and lead the way, but I think it's really up to the financial community to figure out what went wrong and correct it.
You're a big supporter of self-regulation. All right, Professor Sylla, thank you so much for joining us on this Friday. That was Professor Sylla of NYU Stern School of Business, with an interesting look at what our future of the floor of an exchange might look like. There still will be humans there, according to Professor Sylla.